Welcome to The Bridge, Your Health, Your Voice, the official podcast for the University of Maryland, Baltimore School of Pharmacy Patients Program. The Patients Program is the bridge between the community and researchers. The Patients Program created this partnership to help researchers listen to the community's voice in order to build a bridge to an effective learning healthcare community. Here's your host, Rodney Elliott.
Today, we have a little bit of a twist on how we're going to do our episode today, our show today. We have a guest host who you should be familiar with the Patients Program if you've been either following us on social media or if you attended Patients Day. Jazmiera Smothers is, she's a partner, a friend of the Patients Program for a while now. She's going to be our guest host today. And she's going to interview Ms. Tallulah Anderson. So for those of you who are listening, don't worry about it. I'm still around. I'm still here. Jazmiera's going to do great work. So she's not going to take my job, hopefully. But this is going to be an exciting conversation. And Jazmiera, thank you for taking this time out. Ms. Anderson, thank you again for taking the time out. And I'm going to pass it right to you, Jazmiera.
All right. Thank you, Rodney, for such a great introduction. It's such an honor to be here with you guys today as the guest host of the Bridge podcast. Ms. Tallulah, it's such an honor to be before you, just to spend a couple of minutes, figuring out who you are as a person and how the Patients Program has contributed to your life as well. So if you wouldn't mind, can you just tell us a bit about your connection to the Patients Program in our new project that we're working on known as Co-Pillar?
Yes. So I am a part of this great group that was brought together to share. And I wear a couple of hats that I believe allowed me to be a part. One is that I am a person who has been a patient. I have an experience on that side, right? I'm also an advocate. So I'm an advocate for other patients. I have my own nonprofit and I look to connect because from my experiences, I knew what it took or where I could find or how hard it was to find some resources. And then lastly, I work in the managed care Medicaid space. So in that hat, I'm connecting marginalized communities with access to quality health care. So that's why I decided to be a part and most importantly, to share my experience and my voice.
Wow, that's a beautiful thing. And I think it's so important because there's nothing like a testimony to go along with, being there for other people. So if you have that sympathy and empathy for those people, that qualifies you more than the next person, right? I love that for you. And thank you for sharing, who you are and the hats that you wear. On the one head that you have so many hats that you wear to help and support us. And I just thank you for all that you do for us and for the patients. So with that being said, as you explain to us who you are and what you do for the community, how has being part of the community benefited you in your personal life? What has this done for you?
It has done a lot. Actually, I mentioned those many hats. So the experience and what I'm getting out of being a part is allowing me to leverage it across those different areas or different hats that I am over. So I've been able to share out with questions that from a patient's perspective that may be good questions to ask, as well as being on the other side and giving my response as being a patient, right? Also has allowed me to sort of kind of better understand from the little workshops prior to our discussion so that we could formulate these questions and or having the space and feeling safe, right? To, like I did just now, share a part of my story as well.
Right. So when it comes to the questions that you ask, how have they benefited the people that, you're working with? Have you gotten great feedback off of the work that you've done?
Yes. For example, one of the workshops actually was around trauma and dealing with grief, right? So in the work that I do, and it's around breast cancer, there are women and some men who go through these stages, who go through trauma, number one, of hearing those words, you have breast cancer. So that's medical trauma, in essence, where, out of the blue, you just recognize something abnormal, and then you're being diagnosed, and then you're given a stage, right? And based on that stage, you can expect this. And then if you're at a particular stage, then there may not be something that they can do. So that takes you into, really going into those 5 stages, right? Of being in denial, anger, negotiation, etc. So from that aspect of it, I never kind of looked at that part of grief and or connecting it to the work that I do in that space, because there I can think of 5 women that I connected to like 6 years ago, and they're no longer here and dealing with that grief, right? And then trying to talk to other patients who may have the same diagnosis as them, and seeing them, pass away and being afraid. And so how to have those conversations. So this workshop allowed me to really learn, right, some of the things that I could take back and do and share out in that space of what I do.
Wow. Wow, it's such a beautiful thing. And, we never really realized how much of an impact we have on people until we actually do the work of helping them the way that they need to be helped, right? And that brings me to my next question based off of the 4 pillars of this new project that we have, the Co-Pillar Project, because we have these 4 pillars that make us who we are as a person. We've got that physical, that mental, that spiritual, and that financial part of who we are as a person. And they all make us one, right? So when it comes to the 4 pillars of the Co-Pillar Project, again, I'll repeat them. It's physical, mental, spiritual, and financial. Based off of the work that you do, what do those four pillars not only mean to you, but what would you say they also mean to the people that you work with as well?
They mean a lot. They all connect and can connect in some kind of way, right? From the physical and mental part of going through, and I'll just stay on the point of having a diagnosis, going through surgery, and a lot of times it's surgery that is going to change your body, right? And what you look like, that's no longer your normal. So that mentally, can affect you. Right. And then there's that part of it where if you're not financially able to, you're going to have to, sometimes you don't have access to the care that you need, right? And or those resources or those things that other people can connect to based on type of insurance that you have, co-paying, even to having to eat more healthy foods, right? Because they were more expensive. So that affects that affects you financially as well. And then spiritually, being able to be able to express and be able to feel that you're in a safe space to say, hey, I'm believing that this is going to change for me. And or being able to be in that point where you're accepting of what you've been diagnosed with and or what you're going to have to deal with, and your faith helps you push through, right? That physical pain you might have, or that mental anguish that you're going through, or even that financial burden that you have. At least there's something that you can connect to that can help you over those hurdles or deal with those hurdles, and that comes through that spiritual part.
Wow, that is so good. And you see how you just connected all of those so authentically, you know what I mean? Because it's like they literally come one together. Like every part of it is connected in some sort of way. So I love that. I really do. Another question I have for you, if you could take a second and think of a moment, since you've been a part of the patients program, if you can reflect on or give us a little feedback on a moment that was life-changing for you thus far, whether if it was an encounter with someone else or something that you were working on in private. Can you just give us a little bit of a moment or a story of a time where you were experiencing something that was life-changing for you?
Yeah, I think this happened the other day during our call, and we were discussing, it was around grief and having to deal with that grief, and also how you could connect people who may have mental there's something going on like with them from a mental health perspective due to some type of trauma and or grief. And in that moment, what came into my spirit to share, and I wasn't even expecting to share out, was a story about my sister who experienced one of the harshest, I think, grief experiences with losing her daughter and 6 grandchildren in a tragic fire, right? And as a family coming together to be there for her, she's the oldest, but she has always been the strongest one. And she pushed through it, and, everybody just thought she handled it, how could you handle such tragedy like that? And she's such a strong woman. Not realizing that it took she held a lot in. Number one, we didn't recognize the signs. We didn't come back after, the funeral and everything else and do a check-in and say, hey, how are you handling this? Is there something that we can do or we can connect you to? And what it did is, by her holding on to it, it affected her physically. So she ended up being diagnosed with congestive heart failure, and that was through broken heart syndrome, which is a real diagnosis and syndrome. And with that, I shared that out, but for me, it was life changing because I never thought of it in that way, of connecting that, her holding on to that grief, number one, not having the family come back and check in and say, we assume she's so strong, she made it through, she handled everything, and not realizing that she still was suffering, but suffering silently, right? And also not realizing that it was taking such a toll on her that it was affecting her physically, which also, mentally not being able to express how she felt, tied into her overall health. So connecting those dots and knowing, hey, these are the things that moving forward that we could do for other family members or other people who may be experiencing that type of trauma, right? From a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint, and the best way that you can connect and check in with them.
Ooh. Miss Tallulah, Rodney, Eric, this is about to be an authentic moment. I myself, my heart is racing. There's tears in my eyes. I lost a child 4 years ago. And I just heard you say that I'm strong because your sister is strong. I just heard you say, that what I suffer with physically is normal because your sister suffers with it. God works in mysterious ways because I needed to hear all the words that you just used to describe your sister because I can empathize with your sister because I also have lost a child. And I needed to hear that I'm strong. I needed to hear that my heartbreak is a syndrome and it's not something that I'm just, fighting and battling and, it's going to pass me by. It's something that's real. And I thank you for taking the moment to share that again, because I needed to hear it on this podcast today. And I would encourage, both you and your sister to continue to use what she has been through to help the next person, because you didn't even know what I've been through because you can't see it, but it is here. So I just thank you for taking that moment just now to
right. And one thing, and you just said something to me too that like was on point with sharing that, is like, it's okay not to be strong sometimes, right? And even though you're used to being the strong one, right? And being strong means different things for different people. And then you have seasons in your life where it's not that you're weak. It's just that it's sometimes that you just need a little more. You just need a little bit more. It might be a word. It might be just someone listening. And it might be a connection like this.
Whew. Woo! You know, sometimes you gotta stay. I'm staying in character, y'all. I really am. I'm staying in character, but wow. If you could leave a listener, you know, left me with something, but if you could leave a listener with one piece of advice right now or some words of encouragement, what would they be?
So for me, it's always been my passion. It's just one of the things that I do with our nonprofit is connect. It's always been mind, body, and soul. So I knew right then I was in the right place of being part of this group because I could share out those many different experiences. So for me, it's using your voice, sharing your experience when you're ready. Some people are not ready. Some people don't want to share, and that's okay. But for those who are, it can be empowering. It can help you heal mind, body, and soul. And it can help so many others who may not know that there's others that may have had the same experience and can walk you through or just be there for you to help you in some kind of way, and or help you not make the mistakes that you may have made in the past, and or connect you to what you need. Wow. And be open to receive would be my last thing, and to share.
When it comes to the stages of co-pillar, the evolution of co-pillar, we have that we learn, we workshop, we prepare, and then that community studio part of it. Could you just give us some feedback or some information in relation to the stages of co-pillar to finish us out and educate the people listening?
So just as you just mentioned, learning about and through other people who are part of your group, right? Or a part of sharing and developing through these workshops, that has been it has allowed us to like really prepare and talk to researchers. It's great to connect and be able to formulate the questions that they may not have thought of, or they help them to garner the responses that they need, so that we can definitely work to allow for some patient-centered outcomes that are beneficial. And lastly, the community, the communities that we serve definitely allows us to take what we learned through these workshops and through the, preparing, so that we can better help the communities where we live and work. And for me, the most important thing is to develop those things that are relatable and that resonate.
Yeah.
That is important.
Wow.
And this program allows us to do that.
Yeah. Wow, this was amazing. I just want to thank you, Ms. Tallulah, for your time. I want to thank you for the words of encouragement, for the education that you've given us today, for, all that you're doing in the community. And I myself personally look forward to doing more work with you as we continue to impact and make changes in the world and in the lives of the people that we work with. So thank you for your time. And again, this is the Bridge Podcast. I'm so grateful to be the guest host today, and I hope to be back again soon. Rodney, you might have lost your job today.
Thank you. And it's been great to be a part. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you for listening to The Bridge. Your health, your voice. To learn more about the Patience Program, visit our website at www.patience.umaryland.edu.